London in 1886, the largest city in the world, the financial and industrial centre of a vast empire. It was a city divided between fabulous wealth and miserable poverty. It seems a mystery to us now.
It was a different world, an entirely different world.
But there is a guide to this human jungle. Charles Boothe, Victorian London's social explorer. Boothe produced a series of pioneering maps that colour-coded the streets of his London according to the ever-shifting class of its residents. Booth's maps are like scans, X-rays that reveal to us the secret past beneath the skin of the present.
If people knew how many cattle was killed there, I don't think they'd live there.
He wanted his maps to chart stories of momentous social change.
I was on the bottom, and those houses were the lowest of the low.
The ebb and flow between enormous wealth and terrible poverty. How easily desirable or well-to-do neighbourhoods could descend into the haunts of the vicious and semi-criminal, and back again. Now the maps can help us reveal the changes that have shaped all our lives and made the story of the streets the story of us all.
Oh my goodness, the old toilet's gone.
Gentrification has swept across much of the Victorian housing stock in London, but Reverdy Road in Bermondsey has largely resisted the middle-class invasion. A street that hasn't changed much at all in the last 100 years.
I'm working class. I always will be, you know. I don't aspire to be anything else. I mean, I've got friends who say they're middle class. It makes us laugh. You know, so bloody Cockney's the same as us, you know. Who wants to be middle class anyway, you know?
Terry Sullivan has lived in Bermondsey all his life and has been in this house since 1962.
I don't think because you drink fine wine it makes you middle class, or if you like good music it makes you middle class. I think you should be proud of your roots, and I am. We call this the eating room, but actually we never eat in here, but Lynn uses it for her artwork. It's one of her pictures she's doing at the moment, I think. Water bed. Oh, that's what I'm proud of that. See that marble? It's not marble, it's wood. And that's what I did, marbling. I do marbling sometimes. That's one of my most successful ones, because I think that does look like marble, doesn't it? That's across the road. It's my grandfather, my father, my Aunt Mary, and Lena, Aunt Lena, and that's John. And that's in Reverdy Road, looking down towards Southwark Park Road.
In 1900, Charles Boothe visits Bermondsey in southeast London. It's an area bounded to the north by the River Thames and to the south by the Old Kent Road. Reverdy Road is a street of 85 two-storey houses built in the 1860s. Boothe classifies this street as pink, meaning fairly comfortable, with good ordinary earnings. His first impressions of Reverdy Road, as recorded in his notebook, are favourable.
These are all two-storied houses on comfortable streets. Yellow brick and built at the time of the Crimea.
Some tenanted as by one family, like salesmen and travellers, but the majority by two.
Good gardens at the back. Railwaymen, engine drivers, police and guards live here.
The houses are seldom empty and hard to get.
Fairly small fronts with iron railings. Fairly clean and broad streets.
I remember coming first, we came in here, my husband fetched his friend in here. We were looking around the house, empty, looking around, and we went upstairs, looked at a bedroom, and this friend of his well, this is the master bedroom, isn't it, sort of thing, you know. And I looked at the garden. Oh, I need a bus to get down there, you know. It was really big, if you know what I mean, compared to the place I lived in when I was young.
Reverdy Road has always been a respectable street for respectable working-class people. But the house on the corner is different. It's bigger, and ever since 1891, it's been home to a doctor. This house has seen the formation of important principles of public health provision. Max Gammon arrived here in 1979 with a keen sense of being a community-based doctor.
You saw a patient right through as a person, and the numbers of cases that I've had in which I've seen a patient through from the early stages, say, of a carcinoma to the deathbed. You were an organic part of this community, and one could actually feel that one was playing a crucial part in the life not only of that patient, but also of that family. How many people had been seen in that surgery since it began? I thought probably 50 a week year, and we saw 200 a week.
Right, so that's...
And for 100 years.
Okay, so that's 10,000 a year, and then for 100 years. So then 10,000 times by 100, which is a million.
Yeah, a million is a ballpark figure. It certainly wouldn't be less. That's quite extraordinary. 1 million patients.
The doctor's house was built in 1861 for local farmer William Poupart.
This house was part of also the row of houses in Southwark, Park Road, which was once Blue Anchor Lane. And it was Lily Cottage, Rose Cottage, etc. down the road. And we were part of a farmstead built for the farm workers.
The farm and mill attached to the cottage burned down in 1866, making way for the rest of Reverdy Road to be built 2 years later. The first census was in 1891 and reveals that Dr. George Cooper was resident in the house, along with his wife, 8 children and a servant. Cooper had a strong notion of public service and was devoted to his work as a Bermondsey GP. In 1906, he was elected as the Liberal Member of Parliament for Bermondsey. When he wasn't in the House of Commons, Cooper would have been treating people in the Reverdy Road surgery.
We found this in the old stables, because just through there, beyond the surgery, there was the coach house, because Mr. Cooper had a coach and horse, and behind the coach house there's a stable and a tack room. This would have been the coach house. There would have been a highly polished carriage, single horse, I think. But I did have a patient who remembered Dr. Cooper. He was 90 years old, this patient of mine, when I first came here. And he said he remembered Dr. Cooper visiting in his carriage, wearing a top hat. Even though the area was a very poor area, they'd got a very smart doctor in a very smart equipage. You know, the equivalent today of a decent Mercedes, I suppose.
Boothe assessed Reverdy Road as being fairly comfortable. The majority of houses contained 2 families, one living upstairs, one down. Cooking facilities were shared and nobody had a bathroom. Then, as now, Reverdy Road was slightly superior. A little posher, perhaps, than neighbouring streets. Mostly working class, but very respectable working class. Census material tells us the kind of people who were living here at the turn of the 19th century.
Charles Gibbs,
born 1818, living on my own means.
Elizabeth Vences, widow, born 1849, with 6 children.
My name's Rebecca Newhouse. I'm 11 years old. I was born in 1880 and I'm a scholar.
The most surprising thing about Reverdy Road is that it's hardly changed since Boothe had a look around in 1900. He found a street of hard-working people, most of whom were born in South London.
And it's still not far off of that, is it? It's still not far off of that. There is not that many foreign people here, I would have thought, in relation to the area.
My brother, he's gone to middle class. He lives in Surbiton, and he had a good job. He had brains, went to a good school and got a good job and earned a lot of money, and he's very comfortable. But I'm not. I'm not academic like he was. I'm more artistic, you know, which doesn't earn you money. Well, I wasn't good enough at that anyway. But yeah, I'm working class. I gamble a bit. Bingo, only once a week, but I like that.
You know,
Oh, it's terrible. Sorry about that. And I'll tell you a funny thing. I've got a picture taken by the South London Press of my 2 daughters at the school. The photographer took a picture of all the school children. They'd grown flowers or something. And the caption to the photograph said, "These are the children from a deprived area. They have probably never seen the sea and never seen a tree." But I've never seen a tree. And we laughed because that day my 2 daughters had taken pâté de foie gras for their lunch break.
A 120 miles to the north of Reverdy Road stands Alscott Hall, a Rococo Gothic pile in the Warwickshire countryside, and once home to James West, former secretary to the Treasury, now occupied by his descendant, Emma Holman West.
Pretty special, isn't it? As I say to everyone, the day that I wake up and I don't enjoy the view is the day I need to retire.
The West family had acquired a chunk of rural land in Bermondsey in the mid-19th century and soon saw an opportunity to profit from the population boom in London. They built 790 houses on that land. This became known as the West Estate, part of which was Reverdy Road. The Wests were Victorian property developers.
James West, who was married to Sarah, it was her family estate land. And basically, Sarah's brother, who should have inherited, died, and so it then came to the Wests. It was basically farmland, and it was part of the railways, and they had the river, and it's near where London Bridge is now.
This map is a commercial map of London from 1807.
Emma knows little about the building of the estate that bears her name. Most of the documents relating to it were donated years ago to the John Harvard Library in Bermondsey. Historian Stephen Humphreys has brought back some of these documents to show her.
The estate has coloured in all its lands in pink and purple, and the purple bits were going to be disposed of, but the pink bits, including Reverdy Road, were kept down to 1960.
And is there any reason why they decided to build?
London was expanding, and by the 1860s, anything south of Southwark Park Road was the next area in line to be developed, and the value of it for building land was greater than it was for market gardens or farming of any other sort.
And do we know how the Wests financed the building of it?
Well, the usual way was to sell off chunks of the land on building leases. So the builder took the responsibility for paying out all the money needed to build the houses. And then the builder would sell on the lease and get his money back, and the estate would then have the ground rents.
Okay.
Which, on each house put together, would be vastly bigger than what one meadow had had before.